All right, guys, welcome to my shitty basement guest room. I previously made a video where I basically laid out all the gear that I took to a different Saratov event, but what you're seeing in front of you is all the gear that I took to return to Saratov in April of 2021, and I just wanted to go through and sort of identify what I carried and what I carried that I didn't use and what I carried that was super useful. So ran with Blue Diamond Group, we ran flight suits, um, had a Cowdy Brown Eagle SPC, bunch of mags, headlamp, speed loader on the back, some modular salt pack. For cold weather gear, had a Polypro top, and a PCU level 5. I also carried warm gloves, a hat, um, some long underwear, 2 pairs of socks per the tack op, and I didn't actually use any of that stuff, but it didn't really get that cold. The previous Saratov event that I went to got down to like 20 degrees, and it was really uncomfortable. And I did wear all that stuff, but not for this one. This one, the lows were in the mid 30s. Um, Sleeping bag, sleep pad. So that's basically it for inclement weather gear. I also carried a ton of hot hands because I was super paranoid after the last event that we did where it was really, really cold. So I carried 2 packs of the hot hands. I actually only used about half a pack. In addition, so I carried a bunch of tools so I could give them to people. People are always working on their guns. It's good to have multiple tools and then obviously be able to have replacement parts for my gun. Spare tourniquet, batteries, FogTech anti-fog wipes, extra HPA regulator in case my primary reg went down, batteries with some tape, multi-tool, and I actually didn't get into any of that stuff. So it's kind of questionable. Like, do you really need to carry a bunch of extra batteries and a bunch of tools? Could you just carry like one tool or a multi-tool and just a few things? Um, but then again, it's like if your gun does go down, then you may need some of this stuff. So um, as far as gas, I carried a 26 cubic inch, 3000 psi HPA tank, a 4500 psi 68 cubic inch tank, which I did not use at all. So I did not. This is the tank that I was intending to run. I did not use this tank at all. I ran this tank for the entire game, and I shot less than 1,000 rounds. So this is a compared in size, it's a pretty small. I mean, it's taller, but it's a lot thinner, so it takes up a lot less space. I'm probably gonna buy a second one of these just to have some extra rounds. But this actually got me through the entire event, which I was pretty pleased with. Um, I did carry carried a thing of propane, both for our stove and also in case we needed it for our stove, and then also for filling green gas mags. Carried a Umarex Glock 17 with 3 mags, um, and then I had a battle belt. And frankly, at this AO, which is like pretty wide open, it's not a really urban environment. There's not a lot of buildings that we ended up in. The handgun and the pistol mags were basically, I took them as basically a backup in case my main gun went down, but I didn't use them at all. The only time I fired the pistol was after the event was over, just clearing it. And then the belt kit, I wore the belt kit for a while, but then ended up just dropping it because it didn't seem to prove it wasn't really all that useful to me at the time. I carried 5 EG67s and didn't actually end up throwing any of them. I wasn't actually wasn't that close to anyone. Um, Notepad, pen, ear protection, BGG glow belt, obviously Mish 2000 helmet, PBS 14. I carried a spare set of iPro and then M frames with the Helo kit gloves. Also carried the bivy sack, the USGI bivy sack, which it did rain a little bit, so I was really glad that I could be in the bivy sack when it was raining and not get soaked, and then also throw my gear into the bottom of the bivy sack, like my boots that I had off when I was um, sleeping in there, so they didn't get soaked. I also carry like a kind of a boo boo kit, just with some antihistamines, ibuprofen, a duoderm, which is kind of like um, a big band aid, um, some poo paper, some wet wipes, glorious, glorious wet wipes, and then obviously the trash bags per the text app. Food that I brought Mountain Houses, I bought Cliff Bars, Ritz crackers I like, and I like to bring Shot Blocks. I also bought a 5-hour energy. These noon, these are for going in your water. Just that's a bunch of electrolytes. And this is all the food that I didn't eat. So I brought 6 Shot Blocks, 6 Cliff Bars, 2 Mountain House meals, and then something that was sort of similar to a Mountain House that I didn't eat. So um, this is all the food I had left. I had 8 of those Ritz crackers originally. So probably not, didn't need to bring quite as much food because I was perfectly comfortable and felt like I was eating enough and drinking enough water throughout the event. I also carried two Nalgene bottles, 32-ounce Nalgene bottles in my Kestrel 68. This bag is is a bag that I have. It's perfectly adequate. It was pretty stuffed with stuff. Um, so might go up to a slightly bigger pack, like a Philby or Ilby pack, something that's a little bit bigger, and maybe something with like a tri-zip on it would be good in retrospect. Just because I did find myself having to pop the lid on this pack, just to get in there and dig around to find what I need. So I did a lot of like having to repack everything. Um, anyway, so yeah, I mean, what worked? Um, I think the layering system worked. Um, I think the biggest things that were didn't get used was most of the tools and repair stuff, which is good. Obviously, didn't have a gun go down. And then the belt kit didn't really use. Ended up just being kind of dead weight that I carried for a while. But if it was a more of an urban environment, I could see maybe having a pistol. Um, so I don't know. That wasn't as useful to me as I thought it would be. And then obviously, like I just talked about, just probably a little bit overkill on food. Anyway, hopefully this video, it's a little bit long, but hopefully this video is useful to you. Have a good one, guys.